The night before Melissa's wedding was supposed to be magical, but not in her world. She sat at the edge of her California king bed, inside a luxury suite at the St. Regis Hotel, flipping through endless Instagram DMs and congratulatory posts. Dress ready. Makeup team booked. Everything set. Until one text popped up from a name she hadn't heard from in weeks. Zach, just one last time. Goodbye, sex. You owe me that, he said. I'll be there in 5 minutes. She smirked. What Melissa didn't know was that her fiancé, Daniel, had seen her phone while she was in the shower. He read everything, his fingers shaking, throat dry. He even screenshot the chat and emailed it to himself for proof. Melissa, Daniel called out calmly, pretending nothing was wrong. She stepped out in her towel, lip gloss half applied. Yeah, babe? Where you headed? Oh. Just out for a quick mall run. I need to grab that perfume I ordered from Nordstrom. Daniel stared at her. Okay. Drive safe. She dressed fast. Showered. Sprayed on Tom Ford's Lost Cherry. Put on that tight red dress he once said made him think about marrying her. She kissed him on the cheek and left. What she didn't know. Daniel was already in his Range Rover, following her quietly. Melissa pulled up to a high-rise apartment in Midtown, parked, checked her lipstick, then walked inside like a woman in love. Daniel parked 2 blocks away, watched. Through the cracked apartment window, he saw her wrap her arms around Zach, the same ex who once ghosted her. Zach kissed her neck. Daniel's jaw clenched. Then he heard them talking. Melissa, Zach said, just remember what we agreed. No pregnancy. I know, she said, giggling. Let me marry this rich dummy, drain him, then bounce. Give me a year. Daniel froze. He heard them laugh. Then he heard the sounds. Moaning, panting, betrayal. He sat in his car, broken, like a man watching his heart get crushed in surround sound. By 2 a.m., Daniel was at a rooftop bar in Buckhead with his boys, Chris and Logan. She slept with Zach. She said I'm a rich dummy, and that she'll collect my money and leave. Chris slammed his glass down. Bro, cancel that wedding. Burn that dress. She's trash. Logan leaned in, cool and calculated. No, don't cancel. What? Go ahead with the wedding. Let your mom stay happy. After she passes, divorce Melissa and leave her with not even a cent. She wants luxury. Let it choke her. Daniel stared at the skyline. His mother adored Melissa. Her health was already fragile. All right, I'll go through with it. But she'll regret it for the rest of her life. The wedding was trending by noon. Melissa walked down the aisle in her $25,000 Vera Wang gown. Guests clapped. Influencers posted. The world called it a fairy tale. She looked up at Daniel and smiled like she had one. He smiled back. But deep down, he had already buried her in his heart. Their honeymoon in Paris was luxurious, but cold. Paris nights were supposed to be romantic, candlelit, filled with passion. Not for Melissa. She sat in the hotel robe, legs crossed, watching Daniel scroll through his phone like she wasn't even there. Babe, are you okay? You've been distant since the wedding. He looked up slowly, smiled like a stranger, and said, I'm perfect. Aren't you enjoying the billionaire life you wanted? Melissa blinked. What's that supposed to mean? He stood up, kissed her forehead, and walked out the room. She stared after him in silence. Something felt off, but she didn't know Daniel had a full plan in motion. Back in Atlanta, Daniel called a meeting with his personal attorney. I want a postnup, Daniel said. The lawyer raised an eyebrow. Unusual but doable. You want to lock her out of everything? Daniel nodded. Exactly. The house, the cars, the investments. I'll set her up with a nice wardrobe and a credit card with limits. That's it. You planning a divorce? Daniel smirked. Eventually. But not yet. He also hired 2 private investigators. One to monitor her phone and the other to watch her movements. I want to know who she talks to, every day, especially Zach. 2 weeks later, Daniel planned a grand dinner at their mansion. Private chef, string quartet, candles, wine. Melissa smiled for the first time in weeks. "You're finally making time for us." He said nothing, just poured her wine. As they ate, he pulled out a small box and slid it across the table. She gasped, opening it. A diamond bracelet. "Oh my God, Daniel, I love it. You deserve it," he said with a tight smile. "After all, we're married now. I just want to take care of you, keep you close." That night, Melissa felt hope again. She didn't realize it was the beginning of her prison. The next morning, Melissa went to brunch with her best friend, Tiana. As she stepped out of the car, 2 security guards followed her. "What the hell? Daniel gave me space before. Why now?" she whispered to Tiana. Tiana glanced behind. "Girl, you sure he's not watching you?" Melissa laughed nervously. "For what? I'm his wife." But Tiana noticed something else. Melissa's credit card got declined at Zara. Twice. "Didn't you say he gave you full access to his account?" Melissa blinked. "He did. I don't know what's going on." She called Daniel. He didn't answer. She called again. Voicemail. Melissa's stomach twisted for the first time since the wedding. 2 months later, Daniel's beloved mother, Eleanor, passed away peacefully in her sleep. The funeral was grand, emotional, full of love and high society tears. Melissa stood beside her husband, holding his hand, acting like the perfect wife. But Daniel's mind was already somewhere else. This was the moment he'd been waiting for. As the guests walked away, and the crowd thinned out, he leaned into Melissa's ear and whispered coldly, "Now, you're mine to destroy." Melissa's heart skipped. She turned to look at him, but he was already walking away, his black suit blowing in the wind. Her perfect life, it just ended. "This man here is actually strangely," she whispered to herself. Melissa stood by the kitchen window one chilly morning, watching Daniel work out shirtless by the pool. The way he moved, the strength in his arms, his quiet power. She didn't realize it before, but something inside her was changing. She wasn't pretending anymore. She was actually falling for the man she planned to ruin. But he still barely spoke to her. "Good morning," she said with a soft smile as he walked past her into the house. He didn't respond, just grabbed his water bottle and went upstairs like she was invisible. Her heart sank. This was the first time Melissa James, the girl who had every man chasing her, felt unwanted. Daniel had hired Ava, a stunning, young live-in maid from South Carolina. She was curvy, quiet, always wearing tight clothes around the house. At first, Melissa didn't think much of her, until she started hearing things. Doors closing late at night, whispered laughs, bare feet running across the hallway. One night, Melissa woke up to use the bathroom. As she stepped out, she heard Daniel's bedroom door click shut. He hadn't even been in their shared room that night. She leaned closer. Ava's perfume filled the air. Sweet, cheap, obvious. Her heart froze. No way. The next day, while Ava was at the market, Melissa tiptoed into Daniel's bedroom. She didn't even know why. She just needed to know. The bed sheets were different, wrinkled. There was a lipstick stain on one of the pillowcases. Not her shade. She opened his drawer. A used condom wrapper sat inside. Melissa's hands shook. Was he really doing this? Sleeping with the maid? In their own house? She looked around the room like she didn't recognize her life anymore. And still, she didn't leave. That night, Daniel walked into the living room, dressed in gray sweatpants and a plain tee. Melissa sat there, waiting, eyes red, wine in hand. "Daniel," she said softly, "can we talk?" He didn't stop walking. "Talk to your friend Zach." She stood, confused and shocked. "Zach? How did he know the name?" "What do you mean?" she asked. "Who is Zach?" she asked, pretending not to know who Zach was. Daniel stopped, turned around, laughed, cold. "I'm starting to love you, Daniel. Why are you this cold towards me? You're starting to love me? That's cute." He took a slow step closer. "You don't get to love me, Melissa. Not anymore." And just like that, he walked into the kitchen, where Ava was waiting, right in front of her. Melissa stood there, frozen in humiliation. Melissa couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. She watched her husband walk past her every morning with another woman's scent on him. And yet, when the cameras came out, when they attended charity events or family functions, Daniel held her hand like nothing was wrong. To the world, they were the perfect couple. But at home, she was nothing but a ghost. Ava smirked more now, wore shorter skirts, left Daniel's shirts in the laundry with her lipstick stains proudly showing. Melissa wanted to scream, fight, break things. But Daniel had stripped her of every weapon. Money, freedom, and now even dignity. The worst part? She still wanted him. Melissa waited until midnight. She sat on the stairs in her satin robe, legs shaking, chest heavy. When Daniel walked in, smelling of cigars and Chanel blue, she stood. "I need to talk to you," she said, voice small. He didn't look at her. "Make it quick. I know you hate me. I know I messed everything up. But I'm sorry, Daniel. I didn't mean to hurt you. What I did with Zach. I was stupid. I didn't love him. I just—" She paused, breathing hard. "I was greedy and lost. But I'm not that person anymore." Daniel chuckled bitterly. "Took you long enough to admit it. I thought you were pretending not to know Zach?" Melissa swallowed her pride. "How did you even find out about Zach?" He finally looked at her, eyes cold. "I followed you. Sat in my car outside his apartment and listened to you two laughing. Planning to rob me." He stepped closer. "You thought you were smart? You thought I wouldn't know?" Tears filled her eyes. "I didn't mean it. I was scared." Daniel cut her off, voice sharp. "I want a divorce." Melissa's world stopped. "What? I want a divorce," Daniel repeated. "I want to be with someone who respects me." Melissa grabbed his hand. "Please. You can't mean Ava. She's the maid." Daniel smirked. "She might be the maid, but at least she's loyal. She never lied to me. She never played me. She was there when you weren't." Melissa broke down. "You can't leave me for her. You can't throw our marriage away like this." "I didn't throw it away," he said coldly. "You did. The moment you told Zach you'd marry me and run with my money." She dropped to her knees, weeping. "Please don't do this to me." But Daniel walked away, and into Ava's room. Melissa waited until Daniel left for a business trip. That morning, she walked straight into Ava's room. Ava was sitting on the bed, filing her nails, wearing Daniel's t-shirt. Melissa's heart twisted. "Ava, please," she said, voice trembling. "I know you and Daniel are together. But please, don't destroy my home. Please walk away." Ava raised an eyebrow. "Your home?" "Yes," Melissa said, tears already forming. "He's still my husband. I know I made a mistake. I know I hurt him. But I'm trying to fix it." Ava stood slowly. "You hurt him. I healed him." Melissa gasped. "You think sleeping with him makes you better than me?" Ava stepped closer, unbothered. "No, but he does." Then she dropped the bomb. "He's transferring the house to my name." Melissa's knees buckled. Daniel returned the next evening, fresh from New York. Ava met him at the door, kissed him, took his suitcase. Melissa stood at the top of the stairs, arms crossed, rage burning through her tears. Daniel glanced up. "Why are you still here?" "Because I'm still your wife," she shouted. He walked past her like she was a picture frame on the wall. Not for long. Later that night, Melissa sat in the dark corner of the hallway, listening to Daniel laugh with Ava. They were watching Netflix in her living room, drinking wine from her wedding glasses. She was the wife, but now she was the stranger. The next morning, Melissa tried to talk to Daniel again. "We can fix this," she whispered. "Therapy, counseling. I'll do anything." He didn't look up from his tablet. "I've already fixed it, Melissa. I'm happy now." "And what about me?" she snapped. Daniel looked her in the eye. "You're the architect of your own pain." She rushed to Ava again. Please leave. I'll pay you. I'll buy you an apartment. Just leave my husband alone." Ava laughed. "I already have an apartment. He bought me one in Buckhead last week." Melissa's tears turned to silence. Ava walked away in Daniel's robe, wearing Melissa's wedding ring. The maid had become the queen. Melissa dragged her silver suitcase down the stairs slowly. Her eyes were swollen, her face pale. Ava's laughter from the kitchen echoed like a haunting soundtrack. She didn't say goodbye, didn't even look back. She just needed to breathe, to think, to find herself again. As she opened the front door to leave the mansion, she nearly bumped into someone. Zach. "Melissa?" he said, stunned. "Where the hell have you been? I've been trying to reach you. Why did you block my number?" She looked at him like he was dirt. "What are you doing here?" "I came to check on you. You disappeared." Melissa shoved him. "You shouldn't have come. You're the reason my marriage is destroyed." Zach stepped back, shocked. "Wait, what? Don't tell me you're in love with that rich clown." Melissa turned her face. Tears welled again. Zach narrowed his eyes. "You are in love with him. I can see it on your face." She pushed him again. "Just go, Zach. I'm done with everything. Just leave." But Zach wasn't done. He stepped closer, eyes wild. "What about the plan, huh? You said you'd marry him and take the money. Where's the damn money, Melissa?" "I didn't take anything," she screamed. Zach slapped her. Once, then again. Melissa screamed, but the street was quiet. He shoved her against the car and began hitting her harder. She collapsed, blood dripping from her lip, her head slamming the pavement. From upstairs, Daniel had been watching. And that was it. Daniel stormed down the stairs like a hurricane. "Hey!" Zach froze just as he was about to kick her. Daniel rushed at him, grabbed him by the collar, and punched him so hard Zach flew into the hedge. Another punch to the gut. A final blow to the jaw. Zach stumbled, grabbed his car keys, and ran like a coward. Daniel dropped beside Melissa, his breath shaky. "Melissa! Melissa! Stay with me." She wasn't responding. Blood trickled from her forehead. His chest tightened like never before. At the hospital, the doctors worked fast. "She's lost too much blood," the nurse said. "She needs an urgent transfusion." "I'll do it," Daniel said without hesitation. "Sir, are you sure?" "Do it. Just save her." As the needle slid into his arm and his blood flowed into her body, Daniel sat quietly by her side. He stared at her pale face, her trembling fingers, her cracked lips, and something shifted in his chest. For the first time since the betrayal, he wasn't angry. He was scared of losing her. He finally realized he still loved her. 3 days passed. Melissa finally opened her eyes. Her head throbbed. Her vision was blurry. But the first thing she saw was Daniel, sleeping on the hospital chair, his hand holding hers. "Daniel?" she whispered. His eyes shot open. He rushed to her side, holding her tighter. "You're okay," he breathed, emotion heavy in his voice. "Thank God." She looked at him, confused. "Why are you here?" He exhaled slowly. "Because I almost lost you. And I couldn't breathe thinking you wouldn't wake up." Melissa stared at him in silence. He gently brushed her hair back, his fingers trembling. "Rest. I'm not going anywhere." And for the first time in a long time, she believed him. Daniel stood over the kitchen counter the next morning after returning from the hospital. The house felt cold, empty, even with Ava humming upstairs. He stared at the untouched breakfast she had made. Eggs, bacon, toast. It didn't matter. His heart was no longer here. He walked upstairs and found Ava lounging on their bed in his shirt, scrolling through her phone. "We need to talk," he said firmly. Ava looked up. "You look tired, babe. Want me to run you a bath?" Daniel shook his head. "No. This thing between us. It's over." Ava sat up slowly. "What?" "I'm done, Ava. I'm paying you 6 months compensation. And I will give you enough money to sustain you. I'm so sorry for everything. Pack your bags. And live so I can work things out with my wife." Her smile vanished. "You're joking, right?" Ava stood up slowly, her arms crossed. "You think you can use me and toss me away like some house help? You were my maid. And you knew I was married. I was the one you held at night, she snapped. I was the one who healed you. Daniel's eyes turned cold. You were just a distraction, Ava. But Melissa, she's the woman I want to build with. Ava laughed mockingly. After everything she did to you, you're going back to her. Daniel stepped aside. Security is waiting downstairs. You can walk out peacefully, or be dragged. Ava's jaw clenched. You'll regret this, she hissed. Ava walked down the stairs slowly, her suitcase behind her, staring at Daniel with eyes full of fire. Then suddenly, she threw the suitcase to the floor and started screaming. He used me. He lied to me. He made promises. She shouted loud enough for the neighbors to hear. This man is a monster. Daniel pulled out his phone calmly. Tony, she's ready. Within seconds, 2 private security guards appeared. Sir? One of them asked. Daniel pointed. Escort her out. She no longer lives here. Ava tried to slap one of them, but they stepped in and quickly grabbed her arms. Take your hands off me, she yelled, kicking wildly. Daniel, you'll regret this. He didn't even flinch. The door slammed behind her. Peace returned to the mansion. That evening, Daniel walked through the quiet house. Every corner reminded him of Melissa. Her perfume, her voice, her laughter echoing in the hallway. He found one of her shoes under the couch. Just one. He picked it up gently and sat down. He realized then it wasn't just guilt. It wasn't just blood or pity. He had truly fallen back in love with her. And now he had to fight to earn her back. Melissa was still recovering in the hospital when her phone buzzed. Daniel, how are you doing? I will be there in a few minutes. She stared at the message, heart pounding. For days, she'd wondered what was happening at the mansion. Had Ava won? Had Daniel forgotten her? Now this, she typed. All right. She didn't know what to expect. But for the first time since the chaos began, hope quietly knocked at her heart. When Daniel visited Melissa the next day at the hospital, she wasn't expecting much. Maybe an apology, maybe more silence. But instead, he handed her a small white envelope. She opened it slowly. It was her credit card, the one he had cut months ago. I added more limits, he said gently. Full access. No restrictions. No conditions. Melissa blinked, shocked. Why? Because you're my wife, he replied, voice low. And I'm ready to start again. If you'll have me. Tears filled her eyes. Not because of the card, but because of the trust it represented. She nodded silently. She didn't even rush to buy anything. Instead, she returned home and used the card only for essentials. Baby stuff, groceries, and sometimes things for him too. And that was how Daniel knew. She had changed. Not for fear, not for control, but for love. Days turned to weeks. The mansion was warm again, filled with laughter, cooking smells, and music. Melissa no longer needed to impress anyone. She wore her loose gowns, her natural face, and a calm spirit. She cleaned the kitchen sometimes, played slow music while folding baby clothes. And Daniel? He was right there beside her, massaging her swollen feet and making her smoothies. You're glowing, he whispered one evening. She laughed. That's what pregnancy and peace does to a woman. Then she looked into his eyes. Thank you, Daniel, for giving us another chance. He smiled, pulled her into a hug, and whispered into her hair. Thank you for not giving up on me. Even when I gave up on myself. They drove in silence that morning. Melissa in a soft peach gown, her belly round and glowing. Daniel held her hand the entire ride. When they arrived at the cemetery, he led her to a simple, quiet tombstone. Margaret Williams, beloved mother, fierce protector, rest in peace. They knelt together. Daniel placed a bouquet of fresh white lilies at the grave. Melissa added a single red rose. She would have loved you, he whispered. You're strong, loud, and you don't take nonsense. Just like her. Melissa laughed softly. Maybe she sent me to humble you. Daniel nodded. Maybe. They stood up, and as they walked back to the car, he paused and said, She's the reason I wanted a woman who could handle fire. She's the reason I chose you. Melissa's heart swelled. And in that moment, she knew their pain hadn't been for nothing. That night, Daniel was reading beside her in bed when Melissa suddenly gasped. He dropped his book. "What is it? Are you okay?" She grabbed his hand and placed it on her stomach. Thump, thump, the baby kicked again. Daniel's eyes widened. "She's strong," he whispered. "She?" Melissa teased. "Yes, I think it's a girl. A warrior like her mother." Melissa smiled and leaned into him. "A warrior with your heart." He kissed her forehead. "Then she'll be unstoppable." As the final month of pregnancy approached, Daniel started waking up before her, just to watch her sleep. He'd touch her stomach and whisper little prayers over their unborn child. Melissa, on the other hand, couldn't stop smiling. She wasn't just in love. She was safe, loved, respected. She sat one morning in the baby's nursery, looking around. Everything was ready. Then she whispered to herself, "From betrayal to blessing." Daniel walked in behind her and kissed her neck. "What did you say?" She turned and smiled. "Nothing. I'm just grateful." They held each other for a long time. And for the first time in a long while, there was no drama, no pain, no secrets, just peace. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please click on that subscribe button now. Turn on the notifications so whenever I post more interesting stories, you'll be the first to get them. I really appreciate you. I do not take your support for granted. See you in my next video. Bye.